The War of the Rohirrim debut is another giant flop. Surprise, surprise, another subversion, bastardization of Tolkien's work is received poorly by the fans and normal people. Who could have expected this? That something that is even worse than fanfic and has been made into modern setting of Tolkien's works is not loved by anyone. I am surely not surprised, and most likely, obviously, you are also not surprised. And you know what's the best part? I haven't seen this, but I'm gonna bet that this is honestly not even the worst thing out there. That it's probably maybe watchable, but that does not matter. Because anything Tolkien made in the modern day for the modern audiences is just poison. Most people who hear these words based on Tolkien's works in a modern setting, we don't trust them. We don't want to see it, we don't trust it, and we want to save our time and don't even want to watch this. That is the modern day.
Well, the mainstream media will do anything but admit the actual problems with what Hollywood, and that's Western animation studios, not anime, does. They are blaming anime for the War of Rohirrim failing at the box office. We'll get into the failure here, which we...
Anime, the literally most popular medium in the world, by a goddamn landslide, by the way, doesn't have fans. Yeah, that because it's anime, it failed. Surely, okay. Demon Slayer came out and just completely destroyed the American box offices and was the most popular thing. But you know, anime is the thing to blame for War of the Rohirrim failing. Yes, keep dreaming.
Posted on our fandom pulse, and we'll tell you what the fake news over at CBR is talking about in just a moment. Please smash that like and subscribe button and join us here, guys, as we talk about all things in culture, especially pop culture, fantasy, science fiction, because I am a fantasy writer, and I would love for you to
buy his
check
books.
out my
That's kind of the thing.
Lord of the Rings, War of the Rohirrim is officially a box office failure. Now, it has not come out in the United States yet. It is coming out this week.
It doesn't matter. If it's a, there are very, very few things that fail outside of the US and yet succeed in the US. I think Beetlejuice is a very good example. American audience are like, oh, Beetlejuice, I love it! And I'm like European and I'm like, that what exactly even is Beetlejuice? Okay, that is one of the rare exceptions where it fails outside of America, but it succeeds in America. And this will not succeed in America.
Week. And I probably am going to go see it to review it for you guys because I think this is something that should be reviewed. So thank you for being here. Oh my gosh. But Warner Brothers' upcoming Lord of the Rings.
Again, I haven't seen it, but my guess is that this is not the worst thing ever. But again, anything that is currently Tolkien and being made in the modern day from his works is pretty much considered poison by almost everyone who actually likes Lord of the Rings. So, not a lot of people are going to watch it.
War of the Rohirrim animated film bombed at various international box offices, bringing in only a total of $2 million. Now, films like this...
$2 million is insane, considering animation costs are actually also insane.
Get carried by the international box office. The United States box office doesn't typically mean as much when it comes to something like this. And so this is a horrible sign for this skin suit of Lord of the Rings. And it is a skin suit. It has very, very little other than having the branding on it. And then...
Again, this is at best fanfic. At best fanfic.
It's just a bunch of complete made-up stuff that just bastardizes the lore. And it's been rejected. Kind of knows that, and nobody's really interested in that kind of thing here.
The hell was that?
According to Variety's Rebecca Rubin, the film debuted in 3,400 theaters, 31 different countries, but only was able to garner $2 million. The The highest performing locations were Spain with 347,000, Mexico with 239,000, and Thailand with 146,000. Not very good at all.
Wow,
It's the
Thailand.
latest piece of bad news for the film. Sean Robbins at Box Office Theory downgraded the film's domestic box office expectations in his latest forecast for December 5th. He had originally predicted it would only gross 15 million to 24 million possibly, and he specifically predicted 17.5. As for its total domestic box office haul, Robbins believed
Dude, being an analyst for movies is insane because the reality is you can be wrong 9 times out of 10, and the time you are right, it's just pure luck and statistics at work because you need to be right like 1 in 10 times, right? Oh, it's the best job ever. Again, you can be as wrong as you want, and it doesn't matter.
it would bring in an even 44 million to potentially 84 million, saying it was probably going to hit around 49.5. He explained at the time the anime approach for this prequel is likely to hinder what usually a broader audience's appeal to the Lord of the Rings franchise. So immediately they blame anime. You could see this.
Oh yeah, blame anime. Also, the Lord of the Rings games. Oh, no one likes those. Why did Gollum flop? Oh my god. Woke is poison. End of story. Everyone knows it. Shut up.
This here this is going to be the narrative for what's going on. It wasn't the fact that it was a bastardization of Tolkien's lore. It wasn't the fact that they changed everything and went full girl boss with this sort of thing. It was the fact that that it was anime, right?
Let me tell you why people don't want to see this. First of all, because it's a girl boss, okay? And this is not a lovely girl boss, okay? She doesn't even have big boob. That's already -1 point for this. Let me explain you the story of this thing, okay? Here, she is the main character of this Tolkien-based thing. That, by the way, they are marketing as a legitimate Tolkien story. None of this is legitimate Tolkien story, okay? This character does exist, but this character doesn't even have a name in the appendices. And again, they're making a story about literally a character that has so little meaning that she doesn't really have a name even in the story that is being told over 2 pages. And yeah, they decided to make a story about that. They decided to make her the girl boss, who, by the way, in the medieval fashion, literally says, "Now all this free shit that I'm getting because I'm royalty technically, yeah, I don't want to marry someone for as a political thing. I want to marry someone that I love and shit." So, she completely betrays literally what is expected of women in the Middle Ages. She literally doesn't do her job, and now because of that, people are dead. That's our protagonist. And needless to say, people don't like that. Yeah, surprise, surprise, people don't like that.
And this is really the problem with the media. They just don't understand.
Also, people don't like this guy's haircut. Not because it's my haircut, because reasons.
What the real problems are. They willfully ignore it, honestly. However, he adds, still the medium's proven strong even with lesser-known titles in the domestic market, so Rings could attract some attention here as a counterplayer, not dissimilar to how Godzilla -1 aided the market late last year. Well, that's only if
Godzilla -1 was just an amazing movie. That's it.
If word of mouth is good on it. If word of mouth was good on this, I have no qualms saying that this would probably be a success. But it's not. Word of mouth has been that this is.
I don't think word of mouth is going to help it at this point. The Indiana Jones The Great Circle game is like a 5 out of 10, a 6 out of 10. It's actually not even that bad. It does have some woke in it, the fact that you are forced to play as a woman in an indie game for no real reason. But all in all, it's not even the worst game out there. It doesn't have a lot of woke in it. Okay, the women characters that are constantly there are actually pretty likable and act like real people, which is actually awesome. But still, no one's gonna play that shit because we have been burned too many times, and no one wants to pay $70 to something that literally has woke plastered all over it. Especially when the literal devs came out with rainbow pins and said this is for modern audiences. We are at the point where things that are not expected to be bad can be successes because of word of mouth, but things where the reputation is this poisoned, people will still not buy them. People will still not buy them. People will still not watch them because the reputation is too damaged. At this point, legitimately, there is a new kind of fear, and I see it honestly with a lot of folk games that come out and fail. Because the thing about those games is, it's the fact that they actually have really good Steam scores. Why? Because no one is playing them except the people who are actually, for a change, actually putting in the money, and they are woke and they think it's amazing because it's woke. That's how a lot of things nowadays get a good score, so people don't trust word of mouth, because there's a lot of people who are woke and say, oh no, this is actually really good. And again, it's like, there's too much risk spending your hard-earned money going watch. It's just not worth it. For a 1 in 4 chance of this being worth your time, not even worth your money, but just worth your time, no one wants to spend money on that. It's over.
Is terrible, that it is a bastardization of Tolkien's lore, that it has very little to do with Tolkien. It's just generic fantasy skin suit that's thrown onto this, and then have this branding slapped onto it. And of course, it even contradicts a lot of the lore that is established in the back of the appendices of Lord of the Rings. So he said, Lord of the Rings, War of the Rohirrim is slower out the gate in its early pre-sale modeling than projected. The pre-existing Tolkien fan base would normally be expected to generate a noticeable upfront demand, but the anime nature of the film could also skew typical demographics for a previously live-action-based franchise. Very interesting on this front here.
Demon Slayer anime, one of the most successful things in the box office ever in America. I'm not sure, by the way, if Your Name has been dethroned, but Your Name was the most successful romance movie. I don't remember how many years ago, but has anything even dethroned Your Name? And that is, by the way, a Japanese animation, okay? Anyone who wants to claim that the fact that its animation is bad, it's just a liar. Within the agenda, probably. Animation did not make this fail. In fact, animation actually would be a boon in a lot of cases.
And as we say on Fandom Pulse, it's likely that Tolkien's fan base is not interested in the film's feminist messaging, which is made apparent by the marketing made by the unnamed daughter of Helm Hammerhand, the protagonist of the film, rather than Helm Hammerhand. And so we're going to get into this and the whole deal, the whole problem with what they're doing with this, with Rings of Power. Now, here's CBR's take on it. War of the Rohirrim's box office prospects prove anime isn't invulnerable. You see, their entire narrative is, oh, it's just anime. The whole purpose is anime. The whole problem's anime. I don't think the style...
Dude, I think the only reason this even got as much watches as it did is because it's anime, and people kind of expected something, because the animation does look good. That's one thing that it has going for it. The animation does look good.
Of animation has anything to do with this. Again, just Tolkien fans, when you are knowingly not respecting J.R.R. Tolkien's work and you are going against what he wrote, Tolkien fans tune out, period. And then when Tolkien fans tune out, there is no word of mouth. There's no buzz that's being generated for it for normal people to then go, the normies, to then follow up suit when they hear it's a good film. And so that's it. This is exactly what happened with Rings of Power. I mean, Rings of Power's ratings have been a disaster. Season 2, much lower than Season 1, despite them trying to ramp up this whole Sauron narrative. And it's because it just clearly is not Lord of the Rings.
God. The Rings of new males. Ugh. That is disgusting.
The characterizations are very, very off. The situations they're putting them into are just completely ringing false with audiences.
Well, okay. You can make something based off the Lord of the Rings and have it be completely new, okay? It can just be set in the world. And as long as you set it in a world that people believe is Tolkien-esque, you're probably honestly going to succeed. Okay? We don't require some kind of a lost book of Tolkien to be discovered and a movie being made by it to be successful. Lord of the Rings exists at this point without Tolkien, and it is a very, very sacred thing to a lot of people. And if someone made something that felt like Lord of the Rings, even though it would be, well, none of the actual lore, but it felt like it looked like it, and it did a good job actually complementing the already existent lore, people would be fine with it. It's just the fact that everything modern Lord of the Rings is pure poison because they are intentionally. I am willing to bet that this is one more situation that Hollywood was caught 2 years, 3 years ago, maybe at this point. But I'm sure it's continuing. The fact that they're doing an adaptation of something, like Halo, Lord of the Rings, or whatever, and they're like, okay, do you know anything about Lord of the Rings? And the person is like, nope, never read it. Good, keep it that way, you're hired. Because they don't want to do right by the source material. They want to be the big people that make the new big thing. And they just want to use a skin suit to be as a launch pad for them. And that's pretty much it.
And it's because they just want to push that feminist message on everybody, just like everything else. And so you can't do this with something like Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings has too much of a mythos that everybody knows, and when it's just completely ignored, people tune out. And that's the whole purpose. CBR are lying, and they're propagating this to justify the failure.
Obviously.
When this is the real reason. Philippa Boyens, who's a producer, attempted to justify making an unnamed daughter of Hammerhand the main protagonist in an interview with Entertainment Weekly. The appendices where the story's drawn from. We get these quite interesting drawn male characters, and then we get this young female character who's never named and was the really interesting to me. Because it's a self-insert. And this is exactly the problem is these feminists in Hollywood want to self-insert these characters.
There are so many self-inserts and so many modern things. Velma was probably the best one. Remember Velma? It got a season 2. I watched all of it. Pure terror, okay? So bad. So bad. But yeah, that was a full self-insert of the writer. And we recently watched another video where it was, again, just a full-blown self-insert of the female writers. These female writers just want to self-insert themselves in the role of the protagonist without any remorse for anything else. It's insane. So the fact that this could be a full-blown self-insert does not surprise me in any way.
Characters all the time. They're not good writers. They can't make their own characters. They can't do their own thing. And so they try to appropriate other IPs like Lord of the Rings to see themselves in it. And the thing is, like, it wasn't interesting because it was just some unnamed character that was referenced in like 2 lines. And there's nothing interesting about that. That's the whole problem we have right here. We know Helm has a daughter. We know that she was central to the conflict that happened. But myself, and especially the screenwriter Phoebe Gitkins, another self-insert, were drawn to her. We could feel the weight of being that unnamed daughter. Oh gosh, which immediately piqued our interest. Who was she? How did she live? Well, it didn't pique anybody else's interest very obviously here, but Hollywood greenlit it anyway, and this is the whole problem. So there's a report. Her
name is
Eagle. She calls on the power of seemingly long-lost tribe of female warriors to drive out the Dunlendings from Rohan, which is not good, and it's not part of the lore. This did not happen in the appendices whatsoever, and they just completely changed it just to try to make this narrative again and to make themselves feel seen.
I didn't even know her name was Hera. 10 out of 10. Oh my god. Anyway, that was John Dell. Someone actually commented how I'm supposed to pronounce his surname. Aros? No. I can't remember. It was wild, okay? Anyway, that was John Del Aros. For now, it's Aros. I still no clue how to pronounce that. Crazy. It's really complex. Anyway, bye.